This year we get to see the first ever 4K display on a commercially available smartphone. That's a 2160 by 3840 pixel resolution crammed in a 5.5-inch display, the Xperia Z5 Premium. Packed with top-notch hardware, a very generous battery, and wrapped in shiny materials, the Z5 Premium is definitely capable of making a first impression. But does it have what it takes to persevere in the tough market of high-end phablets? Let's take a closer look. Looking at the Z5 Premium, the device looks like an inflated version of the standard Xperia Z5. Sony's rectangular omni-balanced design is translated to the phablet in its full glory, and it looks a bit questionable. While we do enjoy the way the stock rectangle shape works with the regular Z5 and even the Z5 Compact, when it has to grow to accommodate the larger 5.5-inch screen of the Premium, the ergonomics start to suffer. We certainly would have liked to see smaller bezels or rounded off corners at the back to make the device easier on the palm. The Z5 Premium's back does not have Sony's new frosted glass finish. Instead, it has a regular shiny glass with a mirror-like coating underneath. Needless to say, it's a fingerprint magnet, easy to spot a mile away. Onto the buttons, we have the new fingerprint reading power key located to the right. It sits flush with the phone's frame, so looking for it by touch and pressing it in is not the best of experience. As a biometric scanner, it's fairly fast and pretty consistent. However, the choice of positioning becomes even more questionable when you put a case on the phone. The power button becomes even harder to access, and the scanner becomes less accurate as the skin on your finger gets deformed when you try to press through the case's opening. The volume rocker's positioning also befuddled us. Placed here, to the south of the power button, we were forced to either readjust our grip every time we wanted to set the volume or learn how to use our ring finger for the process. Neither option is great on the rather large handset. The Xperia Z5 Premium rocks a 5.5-inch 4K display. This means it is capable of reproducing images with a resolution of up to 2160 by 3840 pixels. For the most of the time you use it, the phone will actually keep the display in a 1080 by 1920 resolution. And there is a good reason behind that. Running 4K at a constant pace will put the device's processor and battery in constant stress, severely reducing performance and battery life. So how does one bask in the full glory of 4K? Sony's proprietary album and video apps will open images and videos in 4K automatically. The extra high resolution is also supported by Netflix and YouTube. And that's pretty much it. The screen does have nearly 8.3 million pixels, but these are the rare occasions when it will actually make use of all of them. Of course, the question that must be on everyone's mind right now is how noticeable is the difference? The answer is not much. We ran a few tests with the screen, we squinted, we stared, we compared with other phones and different pictures. This is the best way that we can describe the experience. In normal viewing conditions, the extra details provided by the extreme resolution cannot be seen, but can be perceived. By this we mean that the images look slightly sharper, not more detailed, as if we've used a very high-quality sharpening filter and dialed it down to about 20% just to make the picture that much more crisp. In terms of color reproduction, Sony continues its tradition of shipping devices with a really cold display and then giving us an option to fine-tune it with 3 RGB sliders in the phone's settings. The cold white point aside, however, colors tend to miss their targets consistently and easily go in oversaturation territory. While this sounds bad in theory, the Z5 Premium screen offers a very vivid and eye-pleasing picture, with only its reds sometimes bordering on being aggressive and unpleasant to the eye. Out of the 3 Z5s, the Premium has the least maximum brightness, measuring at 593 nits, which is still pretty bright. We took it out on a sunny day and used the phone with the sun's reflection blasting straight into the screen and found that we had no issue reading what's on the display. The minimum it would go down to is 4 nits, which is not the best for nighttime reading, but will not cause you to melt if you need to check your chat notifications late at night. Sony's light interface has remained mostly unchanged for quite a while now. Users who have operated an Xperia device in recent years will feel right at home, and those that have had experience with vanilla Android will be quick to get to grips with it. But if you've used a competitor's flagship in the last couple of years, you may feel like the Xperia interface needs a slight facelift and retuning of some of its features. The UI covers all the basics. It's light, it's mostly snappy, and it doesn't have a myriad of settings and submenus that the user can get lost browsing through. It is the actual workflow of the phone that strikes us as somewhat dated. It doesn't seem like Sony has taken any cues from the competition, nor spent a thought on how to improve upon the day-to-day user experience. And the things we're talking about are mostly trivial. Adding apps from the app drawer to the home screen takes a swipe more than it should. Pressing backspace after a wrongly entered swipe type word doesn't erase the whole word, but has you doing it manually. Autocorrect also has its kinks, as it stops keeping track of a word if you move the cursor away to fix something else and then return to it. The tap to wake function doesn't read the phone's proximity sensor to disable itself when appropriate, so if you put the device in your pocket with its display towards your leg, you may just find out that you have managed to activate the torch or airplane mode just while walking. It's all in the little things, but when they add up, it feels like the user experience as a whole is not up to par with other flagships. One would have also hoped that Sony would make slight tweaks to the software in respect to the larger 5.5-inch screen. Having split-screen functionality is a pretty common theme among premium-range phablets nowadays, but the Xperia Z5 Premium continues to rely on the so-called small apps. Additionally, there is no one-handed mode to be found, and while that's not a huge problem with the Xperia Z5, we definitely found ourselves missing it with the Z5 Premium. The Xperia Z5 Premium packs Qualcomm's flagship SoC under its hood, the Snapdragon 810. Outfitted with 3 GB of RAM and running a fairly light interface downscaled to 1080 by 920 pixels, as we talked about, the phone is quick to respond to touch, fast to scroll, and isn't quick to kill off background apps, so switching around and doing different tasks on the device in just one run feels smooth and uninhibited. The newest games from the Play Store run smoothly and reliably, and we generally felt like we could throw whatever we wish at the Z5 Premium and have it played like a champ. There are, however, some slight tears and hiccups during use, which just plain annoyed us. For example, during an active chat in Facebook's Messenger, each time you receive a message, the phone would fully freeze until it draws the other party's avatar and message. Granted, this lasts less than a second, but if you happen to be typing during that time as well, your text and keyboard feedback will be frozen for that period. Tapping on a name from your contacts to initiate a call will also be followed by a second's worth of lag, just enough time for one to start wondering, did I tap it? Should I tap again? Let's try. Oh no, wait, it started dialing. The Xperia Z5 Premium has a 23-megapixel sensor in its main camera and uses a combination of contrast and face detection to achieve super fast focusing speeds, as fast as 0.03 seconds to lock in. The camera doesn't have optical image stabilization, but employs software algorithms to smooth out videos. Sounds like a great shooter on paper, but is it really? On the software side, we really enjoyed taking snaps with the phone's superior auto mode. It's capable of reading a lot of different scenes and adjusting its settings accordingly. You will know when the phone has recognized a specific scenario by an icon in the lower right corner of the viewfinder. We've seen it cycle through backlight, movement, night and even food, and we're sure there's a lot more hidden in there. As always, with Sony's flagships, there is a large number of shooting modes. Some are nice to have and well executed, slow motion for example, while others are questionable at best. AR effect, which litters your picture with a selection of absurdly looking 3D images, comes to mind. we are also a bit baffled by the existence of a manual mode, which doesn't seem to offer much freedom. It has a selection of preset scenes, an HDR switch, and gives us the ability to choose between a few different locked-in white balance settings. Curiously, when in Superior Auto, note the word auto, we have access to a slider that lets us fine-tune the color temperature of the shot. On to image quality, we can't say we didn't expect better. Details tend to get digitized and blurred out pretty easily. Aligning a shot that has both bright and dark areas is a hit-and-miss ordeal, and sometimes the highlights get burnt or the shadows will end up being too dark. Turning HDR mode on will help just a little, but will degrade the image quality. During the night, the camera starts to struggle. Even minor twitches while taking a picture will result in a blurry image, probably something that could have been remedied with the inclusion of optic image stabilization. Light sources easily get overexposed and blurred, while objects in the dark remain nigh indistinguishable. The front camera is nothing to write home about either. It will produce passable selfies and is good enough for video chat, but don't expect detailed or color-accurate pictures from it. As far as video goes, the camera's issues with detail bleed into the clips as well. Thankfully, you won't be zooming in video playback as much. The software stabilization works great and eliminates those hand shivers really well. We also like the audio of the captured clips. The phone is pretty good at cancelling unwanted noise, all the while recording voices and sounds with a nice, thick depth to them. Needless to say, a 5.5-inch Ultra HD display lends itself well for visual media consumption. Granted, we had to set the RGB sliders in the phone settings to taste, as it was a bit too blue for our eyes to enjoy. However, once one does that, the Xperia Z5 Premium's screen is pure eye candy. The sound, however, definitely did not meet our expectations. Sure, the phone has dual front-firing stereo speakers, but they are, unfortunately, quite weak. The sound also lacks depth and is, in general, very phone-like. There is an equalizer in settings, which we liked operating, but it will only go down to 400 Hz, so we couldn't dial in some meaty lows and try to boost the grunt. And yes, there is a sub-bass slider, but that one didn't seem to affect the speakers at all. The Xperia Z5 Premium packs a generously large 3430 mAh battery, with an average use of some chatting, some email checking, a call here and there, and the walk we took to make some of the sample shots. The phone was able to last from 2 p.m. on day 0 to 11 a.m. on day 2, when it was down to 10% and we plugged it in for charging. This is no small thanks to Sony's stamina mode, which is pretty efficient at conserving power and working in sync with the software on the device. Having Ultra HD resolution crammed inside a smartphone's display is an amazing technological feat, but is it a bit too overkill? Probably, but we used to say the same about QHD resolution just a year ago. However, considering the fact that the times we actually get to see the display use its full resolution are rare, we can't help but wonder whether a 4K screen is what a premium phablet needs right now, especially with the technological limitations surrounding it. We'd say that we would have preferred it if the premium in Xperia Z5 Premium stood for an extra gigabyte of RAM, a larger internal storage option, wireless charging, a better camera, or better sounding speakers even. While we do appreciate the wizardry that it takes to put a 2160 by 3840 display on a smartphone, we can't say it enhanced our day-to-day experience with the device in a noticeable way, especially considering the fact that it will only work to its full potential when using a couple of apps. It's not all bad, of course. Call quality is great and the interface is mostly snappy while retaining a clean, material design-esque look throughout. The Superior Auto camera mode does a good job at picking the right settings for a scene, and the software stabilization smooths out clips surprisingly well, giving you nice, steady movement. The battery life is excellent, thanks to the large cell and the software stamina mode. In fact, if Sony managed to remedy the small user experience issues with the upcoming Marshmallow update, the Xperia Z5 Premium might just stand a better chance against its rivals. At the moment, it does not. This has been our video overview of the Xperia Z5 Premium. If you want to check out our detailed review, just follow the link in the description and you will get there. I have been Paul from PhoneArena. Thanks for watching, see you next time.